What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Today is Friday, so you know what that means. It's Family Friday, which means we get to welcome Stephanie Petersen to the show. Good morning. Glad to have you here, Steffi. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for coming on the show program today. We appreciate you very much.
Downstairs, it was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's nice. So, unfortunately, though, one thing we learned today is that it looks like I'm not going to be able to stay working from home because it's a little bit too cramped in here for us to be able to do the show. If you want to have guests in studio ever, then basically I can't do it here.
Right. I mean, I had to be a contortionist this morning, basically. It's like a booby trap of wires, and I had to get underneath the microphone to get on the couch. So I can't imagine most people doing that.
Yeah, it's in an absolute mess. There's no way that I could have Edie or anybody in studio or anything like that. But, we're just not rich enough to have a studio in our house yet. But maybe one day. Exactly. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, it's nice to see you here. Dustin is in there here this morning. Chris Morrill is joining us. And Andy Opperman, Tyler Nelson. Nice to see you all today. Thanks so much for coming up.
These names.
I know, we're really...
I'm saying to you every day, I'm noticing new names in the chat every day, and I always name them to you.
Well, so I've been kind of watching these YouTube hacks videos of how to grow your YouTube channel and how to get bigger.
Yeah, we were listening to one this morning.
Yeah, did you see my new YouTube short that I made yesterday?
About the guns of the U.S. president?
Yeah, if you haven't noticed, I've started uploading these YouTube shorts as a...
So excited.
Yeah.
Love history.
Yeah, for sure. And the YouTube shorts have really been helping me to grow the channel. So
but you cut clips from the actual show that are really interesting, and now you're starting this new, more historical short show.
Yeah, which I think people really like, because the one I had yesterday had 2,000 views.
Yeah.
Bert Crash over in the stream says, how bad is the Missouri Times building damage-wise? It was fairly bad, but apparently they've got it cleaned up.
Just water all over the floor, making the wires wet and unable to work.
Yeah, also one of the reasons why I didn't go back is just because I was sick. I didn't want to get people sick, and so I'm finally almost out of this illness that I've had. So I'll be able to, I know. So
better.
So we'll be going back to the studio next Monday. Good morning, Anna Marie. Nice to see you today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Anna Marie.
Anna Marie lives in one of the loneliest cities in the country. Don't give it away. Gosh darn it. It is one of the loneliest cities. Let's talk about the show topics, what we've got on there for today. Obviously, Steffi gave it away. Two of the loneliest cities in the entire country.
Keep a secret, I swear.
Give her another boo. And I got a question for you, Stephanie.
Huh?
We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Secret I'm keeping.
Yeah. Who was it that asked a little bit earlier if we've been following the votes for the House Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy?
Gosh, I was researching that last night. It's such a headache.
They've gone through 11 rounds of voting, but apparently from what we're hearing, it's possible that that they might have a deal. They might have worked out a deal last night. I don't know. Let's take a listen to this interview with Kevin McCarthy.
I'd love to know, but we're working through and we made good progress today, so we'll continue to talk.
Did you ever think it would get to this point at this stage it would take this long in the negotiation? I mean, we're 3 days into this. This is the longest since the 1850s.
Well, I have the longest speech on the floor,
since the
so apparently I
1850s.
like to make history.
I
Well, you
know.
can sort of, you're giving one member the power to oust you if you're a speaker.
That's
Aren't
the
you
way.
gonna-
That's the way it's always been,
Yeah,
except for the last.
Thanks for letting me
I think
in.
I'm very fine.
But doesn't
You're
this
fine.
undercut your potential power as speaker? I mean,
Has
I
it
mean,
has it undercut the power of all the other speakers?
But it was used
But-
over John
but-
why
Boehner.
would it- so why would it cut
but for
mine?
you, but we haven't
I'm
been in
not-
this
I'm not-
position
I'm
since
not-
1859. I mean, doesn't that inherently mean that you would be a weaker speaker?
No.
Explain.
It'd only be a weaker speaker if I was afraid of it. I'm not a weak.
Are you concerned that there might be more than 4 who will just never vote for you among the Republicans?
No, I think we're good.
Do you plan to go to conference?
Are you worried about losing votes from moderates if you give too much away?
Everybody's involved in it. He's got to get there completely. And look,
Mr. McCarthy,
can I finish his answer first? His question. Thank you. Look, this is a new thought we're going to have. We have a 5-seat majority. So it's not one side's going to get more than another. It's the entire conference is going to have to learn how to work together. So it's better that we go through this process right now so we can achieve the things we want to achieve for the American public, what our commitment was. So if this takes a little longer and it doesn't meet your deadline, that's okay, because it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Oh my gosh. this
He is
so
struggling.
funny.
Yeah, it is cringe. He is struggling to get through this. And
God, he's like a guy on a gym team and nobody wants to pick him.
well, but here's the thing. I mean, like he's kind of like the establishment pick. So he's supposed to be the guy. And
Even Trump told people they don't have to vote for him.
no,
right?
he's no. See, that's the thing. A lot of Trump supporters are mad at Trump because he told them to vote for Kevin McCarthy. Elon Musk came out and said vote for Kevin McCarthy.
Ugh.
So they're just trying to get this guy rammed through. But they don't have to. The House can vote for whoever they want to vote for.
Of
And,
course.
and if he doesn't have enough votes, they need to advance somebody else.
I mean, is this man just living in a dream world? Is he a narcissist?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're going to find out,
Does
right?
he just think he's that cool?
Because later in the show, you're going to help us to find out what a narcissist is. We watched that video yesterday with that Lauren Boebert character.
Oh boy, that was also cringe.
We were, a lot of people are giving Hannity a lot of crap for this interview with the this interview with Lauren Boebert. Let's take a look at this interview with Lauren Boebert. React to
So
this.
you and others fought hard for a motion to vacate, with only 5 Republicans able to trigger that motion. Kevin McCarthy didn't want to give it to you, but he did give it to you in the end. To me, that's kind of an insurance
Sean,
policy. Can I finish?
But he didn't all the way. He did
Wait a
not.
minute.
Sure.
He gave you what you asked for. And one of the things that I've been asking people, I'm asking you tonight, who is your final choice for speaker? And if you can't get more than, let's say, 30 votes, will you follow your own advice that you were asking Donald Trump and withdraw?
There are certainly names that are being floated around. And hey, maybe I should nominate President Donald J. Trump tomorrow. But
And somebody did that.
Yeah, he's on the list.
Yeah,
I
well,
noticed.
it's, Matt Gaetz actually nominated Donald Trump. So-
Can you put anybody on the list?
Yeah,
How
you
does
can.
it work? So
Yeah.
you could be on the list?
Yeah, anybody could. They were kind of.
Oh.
I think Thomas Massey was sitting. Justin Amash was sitting with Thomas Massey
Uh-huh.
on the floor a couple of days ago, and like the rumor was that they were going to try and nominate Justin Amash to be the
Oh
Speaker
my
of the House,
gosh.
which would have been awesome. But it was like a libertarian fantasy. We were like,
They should nominate Ron Paul.
oh yes, they should nominate Ron Paul. That's what we're gonna do. They need to nominate the ghost of Eugene von Bomberwerk or Ludwig von Mises, or nominate the ghost of Murray Rothbard to make libertarians very happy and won't accomplish anything. Anyways, all right, let's continue this. This
Sean,
interview.
I did watch your show last
a
night,
game
and I want to
show?
set
Like
the
we're
record
gonna
straight
pick-
on this motion.
We're going to pick Jim Jordan
Listen,
one day,
I want to set
Donald's the other
motion
day,
straight
Trump the next
on
day?
this motion to vacate, because he did not give us this motion to vacate. I'm showing there's a whole consensus of other candidates.
But I'm
that could be
trying to
nominated.
understand
But
how you're
this
thinking
motion
here.
to vacate, Sean, you need to understand that Kevin McCarthy did not give us my hard red line.
He fought
and
for
this
it.
is a century-old, no, he did not.
No,
This is a
I know
centuries-old
that he
rule
made the
that was
promise.
written by Thomas Jefferson. And
I know
every
he made the
speaker
promise
since
because-
1837 with 5 members, Sean, with 5 members, not
That's
one
right,
member
5.
to offer the
Okay.
motion to vacate.
So
And
my
he
question
following
is this.
Nancy Pelosi's
You haven't
precedents.
answered my question. So if you have
You cannot
Yesterday
demand more responsibility.
Yesterday you supported
and then
Jordan.
Want less
Today you're supporting
Sean.
Donald.
That's not the way this works. We need a check and a balance on the.
It always annoys me when an interviewer asks questions and then doesn't let the person answer the question.
I know. I mean, on both sides, I'm just kind of annoyed by both people.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're talking over each other and it's just too much noise pollution.
Yeah, so the problem is that when you ask a question as an interviewer, you have to let your person answer the question that you ask before you move on. Even if they don't answer it exactly the way that you want to let the audience actually hear the person's response.
Right.
But here's the thing. Lauren Boebert and these people who are voting against Kevin McCarthy, they have no obligation to vote for him for speaker.
Oh, no.
They're not there they're there to serve the constituents, their own people.
Right.
So,
So I agree with her there.
Yeah, let's continue.
She's only 36 years old, too, I found out.
Who is your let's have a final answer. Who do you want to be Speaker of the House?
For the conference to decide. We need to come together.
Who do you want? I'm asking who you want.
What does it look like life after Kevin? We need to find somebody who can actually unify the Republican Party. I have offered plenty of names.
To know.
Let some other folks start offering
there
other
are 203 people, and you have 20. I respect the 20 of you. I respect all of you. But I'm asking you, based on your own words, who is your final? Let's have a final answer. Who do you want? Who will you only support to be Speaker? It's not that hard.
I am willing to have conversations with the Republican conference to come up with a consensus candidate. We are offering people right now. It doesn't have to be a member of the Freedom Caucus. It doesn't even have to be a solid conservative. But we have
more than
to have
half
those
the Freedom
tools
Caucus
in
supports
place.
McCarthy. So you don't have you don't even have a name.
Because they're
Pause real quick. So Hannity's like more than half the Freedom Conference supports the speaker. The Freedom Caucus has been entirely corrupted. It's no longer what it was during the
with Tea Party people.
It used to be, but
Mhm.
not anymore. Nowadays, they've got any rhino who wants to be a member of the Freedom Caucus is in there. So it's not what it was back when we were like, go Freedom Caucus, because anyways, let's continue.
And we're now going into day 3.
Are afraid when you are threatened by committee chairmen to not be placed by steering members.
Let me ask a final question. If your final candidate
on a committee, and then Kevin McCarthy affirms that, that's a scary place to be. We are here to legislate. We are here to get the country back on track. And when you have people making threats like that, it's difficult to make that decision. But we are going to get there. I am fine doing this. We're in day 2. It's okay. The government isn't spending money, sending it to Ukraine. So the American taxpayers are certainly winning.
There's politically.
This McCarthy guy is kind of like one of the architects in the House on the Republican side of things of spending a lot of our money to Ukraine.
Okay, I was starting to look up why people don't like McCarthy, and they were saying he's just not far right enough.
Yeah, he's not a conservative. So, I mean, he's not even like a conservative like you and I would think of as a conservative, right? He's just kind of like, he's a big government Republican essentially. And here's the thing: when it comes to holding this guy up, every day that goes by that they don't have a speaker is another day that they're not sending our cash over to Ukraine and forking it over like crazy.
I mean, people were saying, isn't this the dream of us libertarians? We want government to shut down.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Somebody sent me a meme yesterday that said Nathaniel Banks was voted U.S. Speaker in 1856 after 133 rounds.
Oh my god!
So these people,
exhausting.
these people are freaking out because they've gone 100, they've gone 11 rounds and stuff, and they're like, oh, wow, the Republicans are in chaos.
We have no patience.
Yeah,
compared to back in the day.
No, what's funny too? Here's Camellia taking the establishment side of things. Ooh, let's give Camellia a nice little boo over here.
Oh my, what?
She says Hannity is right. They need to be organized enough to come to a consensus on an alternative. They look ridiculous constantly nominating someone different. Camellia, no, a little bit of chaos is okay. Sometimes it's a little bit of a messy process. They're making a little sausage there and you're watching it.
Right. Not everybody has to choose the same person. It's not groupthink all the time, right?
Exactly.
Which is good.
Exactly. Anyways, we'll continue this discussion and we'll talk about much more when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Oh, wait, wrong outro.
It
There we
still
go.
sounds pretty.
Yeah. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. Oh, Stephanie, the break there was a little bit rough for me there.
I know. I just stayed calm, stayed out of your way.
What just
kept
happened?
A smile on my face.
Good morning to EBC 2021. Nice to see you here.
Met someone new.
Yeah.
Hello.
We always love to see the new names and faces
We
around.
do.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, let us know who you is. We'd be glad to have you here on the show. The camera that was on Stephanie died, and so then.
I guess I'm just that ugly, right?
No,
it just killed it.
I was scrambling to get another camera on Stephanie as quickly as possible, so I was like rushing.
You did it.
But
He's really good, you guys. This guy knows his stuff.
Do you want to help us to hire a staff? Give us super chats over on YouTube if you wouldn't mind. Help make donations to help grow the show. You can also do us a favor for free and just head over to Lear Capital at our website, learaustin.com, and sign up for a free gold packet to help us to grow. So
there's no cost to you. You just get a free kit, and then it helps Austin keep the sponsorship. That's really what it is.
Exactly, because we're in the second month of the sponsorship. We've had about 18 people sign up for it so far, and which we typically have about 20 to 30 people who sign up, so that's not a bad percentage overall. But we'd love it if we could get a few more people to sign up today for the free gold packet from Lear Capital at learaustin.com.
Yeah, just learn information. That's all it is.
Yeah. Anna Marie's messaging, and she says, I took a long holiday hiatus, loving all the new vaporware retro stuff. She's talking about like the backgrounds and
it does
scenes.
Look very different from before New Year's.
Yeah, we've really we've really like expanded, and I keep looking for new ways to make the show better and look better and sound better.
And you're doing a good job.
Yeah, EBC joined in and said, I've actually just started with the new show a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my gosh.
I've been following Mr. Petersen since the LP presidential run. Saw you in person at Kent State. Oh, that was an awesome speech.
Oh, nice. See, people meet you at your speeches. That's how I found you as well.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yes.
And I've got another one coming up here in February. Actually, and I've got a debate on Sunday night, which I'm really looking forward to.
You've been studying.
Somebody says absolutely keep the camera on Stephanie.
Oh. I think Austin is so cute. I love looking at him, and I'm so lucky because I get to stare at him while I talk in the microphone.
For sure. Michael Nib sent us $2 for the staff jar.
Thank you, Michael. We can pay somebody minimum wage, maybe.
For sure. Look at that. And the cool thing is, too, when they do a super chat like that, it pops up on the bottom of the screen. The little gold coins pop up. So it's kind of fun. Thank you for that, Michael. We appreciate you. We got 34 people watching, which is good for this early in the morning, especially on a Friday. Glad to have you here this morning. All right, so we've been talking about this, reacting to this video of Sean Hannity and Lauren Boebert going at it over the speaker vote. We're almost done with this clip. Let's continue.
Congresswoman, you and I agree on most things. We don't disagree on many things.
Yes, we do, Sean.
And I do have respect for you.
And I believe that history will show that I'm on the right side of this, Sean.
Well, you can believe in your position, but I'm using your words. You said to President Trump, you said, we're very clear. He doesn't have 218, so you need to ask him to withdraw. If by Friday you and your group of 20 don't have a name with 30 votes, is it time for you to withdraw? And if not, why do you support a double standard? Last question.
Kevin McCarthy does not have 218 votes. Kevin McCarthy will not be
and you
speaker.
have 20.
Kevin
I asked you a very specific question. If by Friday
when we
you don't have 30,
I will not, Sean. I will not withdraw. Our asks were not petty of Kevin McCarthy. They were not self-serving. We simply were asking for commitments on what the American people want to see. They want to see a vote on term limits, a vote on the Texas border plan to secure the southern border. And for crying out loud, Sean, we asked for a vote on a budget that actually balances.
Boom. See, this is why I like her, because they have a right to demand that a budget actually balance. If they want to have a speaker who's going to give into those demands. I don't think that those are unreasonable demands.
Right. They're not just going to settle.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, is there somebody that they're favoring more that you think would get more votes?
Well, they've nominated Jim Jordan for speaker, but it's very unlikely because he's so conservative. Like they just. you don't put somebody at Speaker of the House in that position if they are a conservative because, and I'm not saying this is my view, but it's the view of most people in the House of Representatives, because the Speaker is a sellout by definition. Like their job is to get legislation passed. And
Oh, okay.
the only way, depending on the dynamics of the House of Representatives, the only way that you can get legislation passed is if you are able to get votes from across the aisle,
Okay.
right? Because they don't. It's not like they have like a super majority of Republicans. They've only got a one vote majority of Republicans,
Right.
and
So
so
the speaker might actually push through bills that conservatives don't like. Is that their fear?
always. Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not just that they know that there are going to be bills that they don't like that are going to get pushed,
Mhm.
but they're asking for at least some concessions to the conservatives who are holding out. And honestly, that's their right and that's their power. They can do that. If he
Right.
doesn't have those votes, they can hold out until they get a deal that will make it so that they actually have to vote for him.
Mhm.
Some people are floating this Byron Daniels character as like a compromise candidate from Florida. This gentleman, but
I saw someone named Jeffries. Is that the Democratic
Hakeem
candidate?
Jeffries, yeah,
Okay.
he's the Democratic push
He's very
candidate.
popular. Whoever he is, he had a lot of votes.
Well, yeah, but they're all Democrats, and the
Right.
Republicans aren't going to do that because they control the House,
Mm,
and so they want to nominate a Republican,
of
not a
course.
Democrat.
Yes.
Plus, the Hakeem Jeffries guy was an election denier. He like the Republicans are really trying to like tar him with this brush, where
Mhm.
they're coming out and saying, because he came out and said that 2016 was an illegitimate election.
Ah,
So they're attacking Hakeem Jeffries because they're saying, oh, well, this guy is an election denier because he, said the 2016, because that's what the Democrats attack Republicans over, because what they say about 2020 and Donald Trump and, stolen
right.
election and all that kind of stuff.
Everyone says everything's false.
Yeah, for sure. The Rare Camellia, boy, she's salty this morning. She
Boy.
says the speaker has complete power over what legislation comes to the floor. That's true. The Republicans started that. Well, okay, it's like he's saying who started what.
I need to go back to Schoolhouse Rock and learn
Just a
more
very
about
old
how the speaker
Sydney.
has
The
power.
Speaker of the House has all the power because they're the only ones who can bring legislation to the
So
floor
they can shut down bills as well,
easily.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they just refuse to bring it to the floor.
Okay.
Camellia says, I can't stand Hannity, but good God, can Boebert say what the plan is? She says, well, if nominating someone different every time is a strategy, it sucks. Boy, Camellia is taking.
When I first heard Boebert and I didn't actually listen to her words, I did say to you, this sounds like noise pollution. This is giving me a headache. She's not being professional. Because I think anybody who talks over anybody, it just doesn't sound good.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of this too has to do with a medium. So, for example,
Mhm.
well, the problem with Boebert here is that she's not in the studio with Hannity.
Right.
So but sometimes there's a delay, and so by the time you actually, if somebody interjects and jumps in on these interviews, then
Yeah.
you can't tell if they're done speaking. So it's not necessarily like if you're a guest and you're trying to get your point across, your best bet is to just continue to finish what you're saying.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, and then wait because you don't know if you're actually cutting the person off because there's a slight delay. She's in DC and he's in New York.
So I believe that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like a Zoom call where two people are just completely not hearing that the other is talking.
Yeah, for sure. Justin Amash has exposed the corruption in the House rules more than anyone else. Yeah, no, completely agree. There you go.
Is Justin Amash out of government? I thought he
Yeah,
took his exit.
he retired.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's no longer a member of the House of Representatives.
Okay.
So he's done. Unfortunately, because he was good, but he stepped down. He decided not to continue the fight, which honestly I lost a little respect for him on that one because I think he should have fought to the bitter end.
Yeah, I really liked him.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
really
people.
believed in him.
But he joined the Libertarian Party, so he's got a lot of people who are really like happy about that. So what do you
Yeah.
think about it? All
He
right,
was teasing the idea of running for president for a while.
I think he was, and the reason why he didn't is because I think that he thought that he couldn't win.
Really?
Yeah, because you know what happened as soon as he joined the Libertarian Party, people started attacking him like crazy. He thought that it was going to kind of be handed to him
Yeah.
because as a former member of Congress, but and if he runs in 2024, I don't know that I don't think it'll be a cakewalk for him, honestly.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, because a lot of people like Dave Smith and Spike Cohen and all that, and I think they'll run too, and
Yeah, I think it'll be a mess.
Because he was a Republican for so long, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So people hold that against him.
Yeah, but they never did that for Ron Paul, did they?
No.
But
we'll always accept Ron Paul with open arms.
Exactly. Ron Paul could like completely do a 180 like on any issue, and people would be like, well, it's okay.
He's like, and we'll be like,
yeah, Ron, it's okay because of what you did for us before. Robbie Thurman says that's why Rogan is so popular. He usually just lets people talk. Yeah.
Oh, for 3 hours, exactly. Gosh,
right,
he really lets people talk.
All right, how to hunt a narcissist.
Yes.
Narcissist hunting.
We need to get out the gun.
Okay, we're going to talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself, or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Joining me in studio, since it's Family Friday, my lovely wife, Stephanie.
Hello.
Good morning, Steffi. Thanks so much for sticking around today.
Morning, of course.
Glad to have you here. Next week, we'll be back in the regular studio, and things will be back to normal. I know.
I'm all cozy here, and I get to sleep in an extra hour.
I know. Unfortunately, that has to come to an end starting next week because there just ain't enough room in this studio for two of us. I gotta have a little bit more space.
Guess I gotta lose some more weight so I can make more room.
I gotta lose some weight, apparently, because, I keep getting comments, direct messages from other men who are telling me about...
Are you kidding me?
No, remember I sent you that picture of the guy who told me that I need to go on the fasting? Or did I didn't send that to you? Oh, I must have sent it to Camellia.
Gosh, people are just that in your business. They need to look at themselves in the mirror.
No, they're just... So obviously I have gained back a little bit of the weight that I had lost last year. I keep getting these direct messages from guys who are like, I'm saying like, have you put on weight and stuff like that? I'm just like,
what the heck?
Like, what is it? This is like a chick thing to do, And then like somebody else sent me a direct message. It's like, brother, with all due respect, you need to you need to do some intermittent fasting.
Gosh. Like seriously, I posted a meme the other day on social media that was like, don't care what other people think of you. Do you see what other people are like? They're awful. Seriously, just do you. Do what makes you happy. If you want to lose weight, do it.
Yeah. Camellia says, man, she's salty today. She says,
Camellia, do you have something to say?
Yes, she does have something to say. She says, it's okay as long as it's with love and respect.
Oh, so it's okay to be like, you're fat and I respect you. Kind of like Hannity. Oh, I respect you, but let me say something really mean.
Fat shamer.
Why are you gay?
Fat shamer.
How dare you?
Yeah, you have to be very sensitive to bring up weight with anybody.
I guess, yeah.
It's a tough topic.
Yeah, obesity is a disease, okay?
I always say just walk the walk and talk the talk. If you want to lose weight, show others that you're starting to diet, you're starting to exercise, and then others will be motivated and inspired by you without you even telling them they're fat.
All right. So since we're on the psychology topic anyway.
Ooh, I love it.
Even after a narcissist discards you, the chaos isn't always over. Oftentimes they'll continue taunting their victims with what's called baiting.
Yes. So baiting means that they continue to taunt you to try to get an emotional reaction out of you, to try to trigger you.
This is a manipulation strategy, and it involves deliberately provoking or triggering victims in an attempt to elicit an emotional response. Whether the reaction is positive or negative doesn't matter. Narcissists thrive off attention, and experts warn that baiting is a powerful tool in maintaining control and superiority over somebody here. So we're talking about narcissist baiting here. So once somebody is done with you, once a narcissist is done with you, what they essentially are doing here is finding a way to be able to maintain control over you without having to sort of continue the relationship as it has been.
Now, here's the thing about narcissists. Let's just break it down from the beginning here for those of you who aren't very familiar with what a narcissist is. A narcissist thinks they're better than everybody else. They think others are inferior to them. They have little empathy, and they also tend to belittle other people. They don't like it when they get criticized by other people. Now, here's the thing. It's a superiority complex. So what that means is they act superior, but that's really to hide their inferiority. People who are narcissists are actually very self-conscious inside, and they're trying to hide that. They actually have fears of abandonment. So possibly in their childhood, talking about their past, they probably had parental figures that didn't make them feel loved, or possibly relationships where they didn't feel good enough. And so they feel like they have to overprove themselves, which is how they have these traits in adult life.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, I'm here joined in studio by my wife, Stephanie. It's for Family Friday. And I do not have a, what do you call it, a stutter. Andy Opperman says, as a lifelong fat man, I am now immune to the stigma. Yeah, I guess it's probably, if you've always been fat, people won't notice. But if you have like weight fluctuations, people are going to notice and say something.
Right. So The thing is, don't change. Just stay the same forever.
Quest Fanning says, am I a narcissist because I realize I'm super handsome?
Well, I was just thinking, you and I were thinking I was a narcissist. I was looking at my dimples in the camera. I'm like, oh, they look really embellished in the camera.
Stephanie loves to look at herself in the camera.
I do. As a kid, I used to look in those 360 mirrors in the dressing room. I'm just really fascinated by the human body and what it looks like. I think it's cool.
But you say you're not a narcissist because...
I have empathy.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So, I mean, narcissist baiting, how do you kind of like identify it when somebody is, a narcissist? I mean, you have to, one, identify they're a narcissist, which isn't always easy.
Oh,
We tend to overdiagnose stuff like this these days.
Everybody's a narcissist nowadays, right?
Everybody's got autism. Everybody's got ADHD. Everybody's got this. Everybody's got that.
Well, the thing is, there's narcissists, and then there's also narcissistic personality disorder. And so narcissistic personality disorder has a whole host of symptoms that you'd have to match up with it in order to actually diagnose somebody. So narcissists probably just have various qualities from narcissistic personality disorder. So it may or may not actually be a mental health problem that these narcissists have.
Okay. Well, then, okay. So let's say that you have identified that someone is a narcissist and you think they might be baiting you into trying to like maintain the relationship with them. How do you know if you're being baited, I guess?
Right. So there's different tactics that they use. So there's one where they idealize you at first. They build you up, make you think that everything you say is right to build your confidence. And then when you're at that high, then they devalue you. And all of a sudden they just crush you and then start criticizing you and being like, your hair is not really that pretty. Maybe you should change your hair, or maybe you should talk to your mom a little bit less. I don't really like how much you talk to her. And so they just start nitpicking. And then it's called micro abandonments, where the narcissist just slowly wears away at the other person's confidence so that the other person looks at the narcissist and is like, wow, that's my powerful person. I need to stay true to them. I need to listen to them. And that's what keeps the victim around.
Covert narcissists are hard to identify, says Anna Marie.
Very much so. They're more so the people that if you criticize them or give them any pointers, they don't take that very well. They get offended. They might get jealous easily of other people, passive aggressive.
Well, yeah, if you're like Austin, take some intermittent fasting, I might react aggressively to you.
Right. But I guess if you completely denied that you had any weight issues, maybe that would be narcissistic. If you're like, oh no, I'm perfect just the way I am. I don't need to change.
I am
Everyone
beautiful,
else is fatter than me.
No matter what they say, words can't bring me down over your hair. I am beautiful today.
Yeah, narcissists, a lot of times they're really not aware of what they're doing. They're just truly just living in a fantasy world in the clouds.
Is narcissism something you're born with, or is this an acquired behavior?
Yeah, and I was actually researching that. I think if you have a narcissistic parent, you may be more prone to develop those traits because those are our first examples in our life as our parental figures, our caregivers. And so we tend to learn the habits and patterns that they have. And so we might tend to be more passive aggressive or more jealous, things like that because our parents were. Also, like I was talking about attachment theory. So narcissistic people tend to have an insecure attachment rather than a secure attachment, which means that they're not very trusting in their relationships, probably because of how their caregivers treated them when they were younger. And so it makes them more anxious or more dismissive in relationships because they're actually afraid of rejection.
Man, this is good stuff.
Yeah, this is real stuff. And it's serious, and it affects a lot of relationships.
For sure. Let's continue this discussion when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're still joined in studio since it's Family Friday by my lovely wife, Stephanie Petersen. Hey, Steffi.
Hello.
Glad to have you here today.
Glad to be here.
Before we get back on the topic of narcissists, I think we completely forgot. We don't want to miss the holiday. Today's a Republican holiday.
It's a holiday?
It is. What is today?
January 6th.
That means that today is the anniversary of
the storming of the Capitol.
That's right. Yes.
Oh my gosh. You could win a trivia game.
Yes. January 6th, we want to say it's kind of like Christmas for patriots, if you will. January
Will be in the history books forever.
It will be in the history books forever. The Democrats will make sure of that one.
That man with the mastodon hat.
Yes, where an army of unarmed patriots tried to commit an insurrection. Worst insurrection ever, in my opinion. Do you remember where you were when January 6th happened, Stephanie?
No, I don't, honestly. I guess it wasn't that important in my life.
So I was actually taking a nap.
I probably was taking a nap then too.
Yeah. So, well, no, because I don't know. It was 2020. Had you moved here yet in 2020?
Here.
You
Yeah.
were here. Okay.
Well,
maybe you were
2020. No, not January of 2020. I wasn't here.
You weren't
just
here
yet.
yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So January 6th, 2020. This was like right before the coronavirus pandemic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then I definitely wasn't here.
Yeah. So on January 6th,
I was probably working actually.
Yeah, it was a day that shall live in infamy. And I remember I woke up because my phone was blowing up, and my boss was like messaging me saying, the Capitol has been overrun and blah blah blah. And I'm just kind of like, my boss at the time was like, he wasn't a lefty and stuff like that, but he was not like a hard right winger like I am. I mean, hard right compared to him. And so it was kind of like, if you're not a libertarian or a Trumper on that day, then it's very traumatizing for you.
Maybe that's why I'm not traumatized by it.
Yeah, I wasn't traumatized by it either, because I'm kind of like...
Right. I just remember the video of Josh Hawley running down the hall of the Capitol.
Running away from the
freaking
rioters.
out.
Yeah, he was running away from them and stuff like that. And I wasn't supporting the reason why they were storming the Capitol, but I was supportive of just storming the Capitol in general.
Right. Showing that the people still have the power.
And I think the reason why I have not been allowed to really get any reach on Facebook anymore is because of the things that I said that day. I got ban after ban. I put all I did.
Wow. Did you get posts taken down?
Oh, dude, one of the posts that I had taken down, I didn't even post a caption. It was just a picture of the Buffalo guy.
Oh, I loved him though.
I know, he was so fun.
He was epic.
Yeah, he was epic. So, but they took it down, even though it was a Getty photo. It was posted. If you posted it as a liberal that day, and you said something negative about it, you could have your post up. But if you posted the Buffalo man and you did not say anything unkind about him there, or just posted the Buffalo man, you were banned. So I got banned for that. And then I also got banned for a comment that I made where I said, and leftists just don't have a sense of humor, but I posted, to be honest, we should have stormed the Capitol back when they passed the New Deal.
Oh, I remember that comment.
Which is obviously a joke, right? That's supposed to be hilarious. So anybody who doesn't have any sense of history has no freaking clue what I'm talking about there. They don't know what the New Deal was, but it was considered to be an overt support of the insurrectionists on that day. But you know what it goes to show too, just how much the left really does worship. January 6th was 2021. Somebody says, buddy, sorry.
So it just happened.
It happened
2 years ago then.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, so I was
buddy.
napping with you. Okay.
No, you weren't. You were gone. You must have been. I think you might have been doing therapy.
Gone.
Remember you would do therapy in that middle room that we had there at the house, the other house that we lived in. But I just because I remember waking up alone.
That whole event.
Right. I remember waking up alone. And I was like, I saw it and I was like, on one hand, I'm not a MAGA Trumper, so I'm not and I didn't think the election was stolen like they did.
Because that's the reason they were doing it, right? They thought the election was stolen.
Yeah, because people were lying to him and telling them that the election was stolen. People like Hannity were lying to him.
Right.
And telling them that the election was stolen because that's what they wanted to hear. Because people like Sidney Powell had come out and were like,
oh, we've got information that will show that these people, that these ballots were fraudulent, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow.
And
So they have the proof, but we haven't seen that proof, right?
they didn't have any proof.
Okay.
There've been subsequent lawsuits over and over again, and they didn't have any proof, and they weren't able to prove. The only case of malfeasance that I've been able to say, definitively, has been out of Pennsylvania, where the legislature passed a law that said your ballots, absentee ballots and mail-in ballots, all have to be in by a certain date, and a judge came in and overruled it and said, no, we're going to continue to accept these ballots past the deadline. But that's not necessarily fraud. That's that's just a government malfeasance, if you will.
Right. A judge can do that.
I mean,
right?
they did. So
Yeah.
whether or not you think that's wrong or not is a matter that can be up for debate. But the thing is like it just, like yesterday, I just reported on yesterday that in a lawsuit from Dominion Voting Machines, they sued Fox News for defamation, and Hannity and Tucker Carlson had to come out and admit that they do not believe the election was stolen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they came out. Now, here's the thing: they had to say this in a sworn deposition.
Wow.
So
That's a lot of pressure.
Oh yeah, for sure. But here's the thing: they go out on the network, and they tell their viewers that they think that the election was stolen, and the people buy it hook, line, and sinker because they want to believe it.
So they can still talk about that they believe it on the air, but yet
You might not hear them saying that
they had to
anymore.
say they didn't believe
You
it.
might not hear them say it anymore because now they've had this sworn deposition, and
Right.
and it would be considered perjury.
You would think so.
Yeah, so that's the problem, is that now they have to go out and they have to, they'll probably just ignore it from now on, right? So,
Right. Just not talk about it.
yeah, Ann Henry is over in the live chat now. If you don't see Ann Henry's chat in YouTube, then you might be on top chat instead of live chat. YouTube keeps putting.
Oh.
It's basically kind of like a feed filter.
I must be in top chat because I do see top chat whenever I'm chatting, but I still see everyone's chats coming through.
Right. So here's the thing: Ann Henry says no one has to tell them the election was stolen. We all watch with our own eyes Republican observers being removed from counting locations. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the election was stolen. Because there were shenanigans doesn't mean that the election was stolen. There's always shenanigans.
Right.
I literally witnessed Trump's count on the TV screen decrease while Biden's jumped in a way that no one else has ever had in history. No one has to tell me someone stole anything. Here's the problem with that: you're getting your media, the story from the news. Like, the problem is that
Right.
it's being filtered through the television, and you can't necessarily trust what you see on TV.
Propaganda.
Well, it's not just that it's propaganda, but it's just that the problem is like with the conspiracy theories involving the television networks and things like
Uh-huh.
that. Like, they don't understand how stupid a lot of these people are who work in television.
Right.
They make mistakes, and they're like, oh, we put two. It's easy to put a number up on the screen that's incorrect.
Right.
They do it all the time, and because I've worked in television, I've seen it. I've been in control rooms, and they're oftentimes, especially on election night, a chaotic nightmare.
Oh my gosh,
So
yeah.
just
Don't you see all the bloopers on
Yeah.
YouTube of news people? They make mistakes every day.
Right. So that there was no story that was on CNN, says Ann Henry. It means there was something they didn't want them to see. Not necessarily. Again, you're talking about CNN here. You're talking about the dumbest of the dumb in terms of mainstream media. So again,
Yeah.
just because you saw it on the television set and it looked like shenanigans, remember that the television producers a lot of times are morons. I promise you that.
Yeah. I mean, if I saw proof, I would believe it. It's like, show me the proof.
It was live election results, but that doesn't matter. They make mistakes while they're live, right?
Mhm.
And then they correct, and they're like, "Oh, we, the director can be in the master control and turn to the producer and say, hey, is this number right?" And the producer, is yelling at somebody else and says
Right.
yes, and they're like, put it up there on the screen. The director is like, hey, this number isn't right, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, no, here's the right number.
Change.
And then they'll change
Right.
it, and then people will be like, "Hey, I saw this on TV. It was this," and stuff like that. You can't attribute to malice what can easily be explained away by stupidity. Is my view on this one. So, I'm not saying that it's that there weren't irregularities in certain places around the country.
Mhm.
Certainly there were, but
It's just kind of like when Queen Elizabeth died. I remember there were reports that she died before she actually died.
Mhm.
People were going around, oh, she died. And I saw not one news article yet about that.
Yeah. Ann Henry also asks, okay, so how do you explain Biden's count jumping in a way no one else's has? Well, because Republicans spent so long talking down on absentee voting and mail-in voting,
Mm.
Republicans didn't trust mail-in voting,
Okay.
so they didn't do it. So the majority of the people who went and did mail-in voting and did absentee voting and
participated in ballot harvesting, et cetera,
Uh-huh.
were Democrats.
Okay, because the Republicans stayed away. That
Because
makes
the
sense.
Republicans didn't trust it, and so because they've been, on the whole election and integrity bandwagon for years,
Right.
that they didn't trust it, and so they didn't participate in absentee voting or mail-in voting.
So that kept them away from voting in general?
Well, no, they voted. Well,
Mhm.
actually, let's be honest. The fact is that in 2020, if you and in 2022, if you look at the numbers, white male Republican voters
Mhm.
have been going down. So actually, fewer of the typical what you might say Trump voters,
Right.
fewer Trump voters voted for Trump in 2020 than they did in 2016. They voted in smaller numbers.
Yes.
More minorities voted for Donald Trump than in the 2016 election. That they voted, more minorities voted in 2020 for
For
Donald
him.
Trump
Okay.
than voted in 2016, but it wasn't enough to put him over.
Right.
And why did the numbers jump? Because by the time they started counting all the absentee votes, Republicans didn't vote absentee, and
Right.
they didn't do mail-in voting.
Right. So most of the people were Democrats that were voting absentee, and those were the ballots they were counting.
It's a pretty obvious explanation
Yes.
for why that happened. If you want to send a text to the show, you can at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586.
People just love examining the what ifs and the mysteries. I mean, it's fun for our brain to explore all of that.
For sure. Oh yeah. Well, it is, and people love to get into like the complexities of these things.
Mhm.
Someone texted in this morning and said, "You know what's more dishonest than 2020 election denialism? Biden voters who pretend the choice was based on policy rather than Trump's personality." Okay, completely true. So people didn't vote for Biden because of Biden's policies.
Okay.
They voted for Biden because they didn't like Trump.
Right.
I mean, Trump is the reason that the election was lost in 2020. And in my opinion, and
Yeah.
I know that my Trump listeners are not going to like this, he's the reason why the midterms didn't win. That the election denialism is the reason that Republicans didn't win the midterms. Didn't absolutely dominate the midterms. There should have been a red wave. But
Right.
because of Republicans who are absolutely obsessed with the 2020 election, voters, you got to understand, the thing is, most voters aren't like us, okay? Most voters are not crazy ideologues.
Mhm.
They don't care about the policies and things like that.
No,
They care
they
very,
barely know who
very-
they're voting for.
Exactly. People go to the polls to vote for the dumbest reasons, right? They
Right.
go and vote because they're this or that and stuff like that. And you have to remember the climate of 2020. That was coronavirus at its height. Donald Trump during that election, he was sick with COVID. Remember?
Okay, I do remember him getting COVID. Was that right during the election
It
when
was
people were voting?
right the weeks before. Yeah, while people, well,
Wow.
if you were voting like absentee or if you were doing mail-in
Right, which
ballots
the
and stuff.
Republicans weren't doing that apparently.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it sort of made Donald Trump look like he was incompetent and unable to protect himself from a virus.
Right.
And here's the thing too: a lot of his supporters were not happy with the whole Operation Warp Speed, the vaccine.
Mhm.
If you want to kind of like look at one of the reasons why Trump lost support in 2020 versus 2016. A lot of his supporters are, and I'm not using this derogatorily, I'm using this descriptively, were anti-vax.
Yes.
And so when Donald Trump is out there, shilling the vax hardcore,
Because he was pro-vax,
absolutely,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
he still is.
Okay.
And I honestly think that if Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis come out and are like competing against each other here in 2024,
Mhm.
I think that Ron DeSantis is going to go after Trump on the whole vaccine issue. I think the vaccine probably no matter what is
Mhm.
going to be like one of the big issues in the Republican primaries
Sure.
in
Is
2024.
DeSantis for or against the
I
vaccine?
think he was for it before he was against it.
Oh gosh, so he flip-flopped.
Well, they all flip flop and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So I mean, it's not surprising that you would see something like that. But I do think that the vaccine is going to be one of those. The vaccine is going to be one of the big issues there for the 2024 election.
So maybe it was mostly a timing thing. I mean, COVID 2020, it
Mhm.
just screwed up the whole voting process.
Ann Henry, she comments on this one. I've got her fired up this morning. She says, "I'm so sick of people acting like it's all Trump. I think it has more to do with Republicans always declaring war on abortion." That was what Trump was saying, is that he thinks, two things can be true at once.
Mhm.
Donald Trump could be, in terms of why the midterms, Republicans lost the midterms,
Yeah.
overturning Roe versus Wade committed a lot of young people, especially, to go out and to vote against the Republicans.
Oh, absolutely. It frightened a lot of people in the LGBTQ community.
Yeah. Yep. Ann Henry is agreeing with me when she says, yeah, Trump doesn't understand his base in that regard. He doesn't understand that people don't like the vaccine, so just stop talking about it. This is what Owens was trying to tell him. Yeah, a lot of his supporters not big fans of the vaccine, coming out and attacking you on that one.
People just get so attached to random ideas and concepts. The vaccine. Don't we have bigger fish to fry?
No, yes, absolutely. I'm honestly sick of talking about it too, just because
Right.
it's like, people are like, somebody. I kind of was like teasing anti-vaxxers the other day
Uh-huh.
because some guy got punched in a bar fight and he died.
Really? Because of the vaccine?
Yeah, and it was the day after the Damar Hamlin story in the NFL.
Where he
Well, here's the thing.
passed out, had a heart attack.
The guy got punched in a bar and died. It wasn't because of the vaccine. He got punched. He got hit in the head.
Right.
Right, and he died.
Yeah.
So I said, guy dies suddenly
Mhm.
in bar fight after he gets punched in the head.
Right.
Okay, because obviously he died because he got punched in the head.
Yes.
Okay.
One thing led to the other.
But
Yes.
with the Damar Hamlin story, and I know I'm going to make people mad again, but that's what this is. You're going to get my opinion. You're not going to like this. Why did he get knocked out, and how did he almost die? He got hit. Like he got hit like a freaking freight train.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
immediately.
Maria was talking about it.
Yeah, immediately people were like, "Oh, it's the jab. It's the jab." It's like, dude got nailed on the field and almost died from it. I mean,
Right.
why would you immediately jump to the vaccine? It's like the guy got hit like a freight train. But it's
Yes.
like, here's the thing. When I posted, I go, guy dies suddenly after he got punched in a bar fight. People are like, well, what do you mean? Obviously there was a bar fight. I'm like, why is it obvious that he died from a bar fight and not from the vax?
Right,
But the
clearly
guy,
it's not obvious in all cases.
clearly it's not obvious in this case over
Mhm.
here and stuff like that. People are not good at critically thinking.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. They've already decided that the vax kills you.
Right.
So they go out there and they say, well, let's find out what every bit of information I can to confirm what I already believe.
It's just like with the autism and vaccines.
I'm not saying that the vax
Mhm.
can't kill you. As a matter of fact,
Right.
I think that there is a non-zero chance that you could die from the vaccine. There's also a non-zero chance that you can die from a polio vaccine.
Mhm.
There's a non-zero chance that you can die from an MMR vaccine.
Right.
People who have allergies to vaccines, that's a real thing.
Oh, absolutely. And those people are usually exempt from getting vaccines in
Right.
terms of the military.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You can send us a text on the show today at 573-319-1586.
I just wonder if Hamlin, if he's a pro-vaccine guy, I mean, was he really out about it and
in order to
supporting
play,
it?
like, I think like 95% of the people in the NFL are all vaccinated.
Right.
Because it's a mandate.
Yes.
But the problem with like the mandatory vaxxers, the anti-vaxxers, they're kind of like, to me, they're very much like very similar in the ways because
Mhm.
they both have religion, about their vaccine view. They don't have, they're not not willing to change their mind if information comes out that goes against what they believe.
Yeah,
on
most of the anti-vaxxers I know are naturopaths.
Right, which is very woo-woo in the first place, right? Very much, and I go very carefully about, I usually typically debunk only one conspiracy theory at a time.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I spent time debunking the whole detox thing that a lot of these naturopaths will talk about.
Detox from the vaccine?
No, just detox in general, where
Uh-huh.
it's like they'll try and sell you some juice cleanse that's supposed to
Oh,
detox
yes.
you.
Yes.
But the reality is that your liver already exists to do that job, right?
That is true.
You don't have to detox it. You don't have to drink any kind of juice or any kind of weird cleansing stuff.
Yeah, I've tried the chlorella,
Yeah,
the cilantro.
the cilantro, it's all garbage. Your liver exists to detoxify anything that you eat or drink. Chris Morrill's tuning in this morning. He's got a lot going on. Good morning, Chris. Glad to have you here.
Chris.
Yep. We're talking about Elizabeth Press says there are no stats on sudden death. Why not? I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about.
One sudden death of vaccines?
Maybe. Ann Henry says, AP, have you seen the stats of all the people in high school, college, and pro sports mysteriously dropping dead in 21 to 22? Something is causing people to die at a higher rate, but what is it? Now, I don't know the answer to that one. But I would say be very careful about committing a causation correlation fallacy.
That's right.
One, it's entirely possible that we only just started paying attention to people dying suddenly.
It's just
in
like when you see
sports.
one plane crash on the television and then you think a plane crash is going to happen every day.
Or if like 2 or 3 plane crashes happen
Mhm.
in succession and you're like, oh my God, it happens all the time. But
There's something happening here.
for sure. And
Right.
listen, I'm not doing this just to confirm my biases here.
Mhm.
I'm only asking questions. I'm not stating for certain that you're wrong on this, Ian Henry. It's quite possible that the vaccine led to an increase in deaths. It's absolutely possible. I'm not denying that.
Right.
But I'm saying that I'm skeptical of this concept because unfortunately, typically the type of people who are advancing this are not experts in that field.
Mhm.
And it's not to say that I necessarily always trust the experts, but I don't trust a girl who shows her ass on Instagram 10 times a day and then tells me, to go do a juice cleanse and detox and that weed cures cancer and then turns around and says that the vaccine caused autism. And
Right.
because here's the thing, if you scratch an anti-vaxxer on COVID-19,
Mhm.
if ask them about the other vaccines as well.
Right, like MMR, flu shot.
Right, because here's my thing with the problem is that you very rarely, and this isn't always true. Again,
Mhm.
I'm speaking in generalities, not in totalities, okay? But if you scratch an anti-vaxxer on the COVID vaccine, then what about the other vaccines? Do the other vaccines cause autism? Do the other vaccines kill people? Right? So I mean the question
Right.
it's very rare, still exists, but it's very rare that you will find that they aren't an anti-vaxxer in all respects.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah,
But
when you don't like one, you usually don't like more than one of those vaccines.
which is sus because, the fact is that polio vaccines do prevent people from getting polio. Now, does the coronavirus vaccine prevent people from getting COVID-19?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but the question is that what's the data that we have in regards to whether or not people are getting the proper boosters or whether or not they get infected with the new variant? Here's the problem. If COVID acts like a flu virus,
Mhm.
right? People are like, well, I got a flu shot and I still got the flu.
Right.
People who get flu shots still get the flu if you don't continue to get a flu shot, right? You have to, and even flu shots are only 30% effective, I think, in
Yeah, a
so
lot of
much.
times they don't include all of the strains that are out there. So
Mhm.
sometimes, sure, you will get the flu, but it's not the strain that was in the vaccine that you got.
Yeah.
So that's the trouble with it.
Yeah,
And why people look down on it.
And another thing too, that people who are against the vax, I hesitate to use the word anti-vaxxers because it has like a kind of a pejorative connotation, and I don't want to.
Maybe vaccine skeptic?
I don't want to ascribe a label
Yeah.
to people because they tend to be more believers than skeptics.
Mhm.
But people who are skeptical of this vaccine, right? They'll point to this VAERS data, for example,
Mhm.
which the problem with the VAERS data is that it's self-reported.
Okay.
It's not going through a filtering process in order because people will use this data and say, well, look at all these people who are having reactions to vaccines. Well, anybody can go and fill that out and say they had a reaction to a vaccine,
Of course.
but there's nobody it's not a doctor that's filling that
So
thing
there's
in.
no doctor writing off on these symptoms saying,
No.
yes, I've seen this patient. They have this.
Right, for sure.
Okay.
For sure. So that's
And we know how many sad fishers there are on the internet that make up things.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing too that kind of pisses me off. I mean, the mandatory vaxxers are obviously going to be the type of people that I'm going to be like, stay away, sign of the cross, right? We don't like mandatory vaxxers.
Right.
But
Give me a choice no matter if I agree with it or not.
Right. But
Give me that choice.
Right. But the thing that pisses me off about the anti-vaxxers too, I guess I'm just gonna have to use that term, is that they're bullies too. Like they're they go out there like and circulate these hashtags, hashtag pure blood. I would never sleep with someone who's like vaccinated, who is vaccinated, and blah blah blah. And it's kind of like,
It's
okay,
true.
okay, it's fine. You can have you're free to have your own beliefs, but I mean, like, you're still a garbage person. You know what I mean? Like why do you feel the need to treat people like that because they made a medical decision for themselves that was a voluntary decision?
Because they think that the vaccine taints the person's body. And so then if they were to reproduce with that person, it would affect their offspring. That's where it all
There's no
comes back
evidence
to.
of that. There's no evidence of that, right? They just made that shit up, and so it's like, it's just, why is it that people just cannot be reasonable about this kind of stuff? People are like, well, I know somebody who died because they got the vaccine. Okay, well, that's an anecdote, and I know somebody who died because they didn't get the vaccine,
Right.
right? So that why doesn't that mine cancel out yours, right? Why
Right.
doesn't my anecdote cancel out your anecdote, right? My aunt might be alive if she had gotten vaccinated, right?
Absolutely. And
So
I understand this is a new vaccine. So I really do think more research is needed. More
Mhm.
studies are
Yeah.
needed for me to even feel confident with the vaccine as it is.
For sure.
We deserve that.
For sure. And the thing is that maybe all of here's the thing. If you have a pandemic like
Mhm.
we did, people are like, "Oh, it was an experimental vaccine and it was rushed."
Yes.
No shit. It was rushed. It's a I mean, I'm trying not to curse as much as possible. It's a fucking pandemic.
Right. And we hadn't been in that in 100 years. We didn't
Right.
know what to
What
do.
do you Of course it was rushed. Of course it was rushed. Of course there was going to be an experimental aspect to it. But that's again, anti-vaxxers will treat people like me the same way they'll treat mandatory vaxxers. It should have always been voluntary. That's why it
Absolutely.
always be people who choose not to get the vaccine are the control group,
Right.
right? And it should absolutely be their decision to be able to get vaccinated or not. But people who are the anti-vaxxers, who I think are just kind of like the same as the mandatory vaxxers, they're like some of these people I think would ban the
Mhm.
vaccine, like prevent. Oh, you can't. It shouldn't be allowed. People shouldn't. You shouldn't even be allowed to get it. It shouldn't be allowed to be rushed. A lot of these
Right.
people, a
Because
lot
if
of
it has any negative effects and
right,
it can
they're
harm
not.
people, it should be gone.
What I have found frequently is that conspiracy theorists tend to not be libertarians. They tend to be authoritarians, just of a different stripe.
But they call themselves libertarian.
Many of them do, but
Yes.
they're not, right? They would ban a lot of like that's the one thing that I found that was like disappointing, throughout my career as a libertarian, is that I found that a lot of my friends who were conspiracy theorists like turned their back on me because if you believe in like, one conspiracy or another, a lot of times they will advocate for government intervention
Yes.
to stop their
Example
conspiracy.
about GMOs.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
actually
they'll say
saw a GMO rally in Michigan
yeah.
once, and they were wanting to ban GMOs,
Yeah.
which is anti-libertarian. But yet
Exactly.
these were libertarians at this parade.
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about here, is that you'll find is that these conspiracy theorists are not libertarians because
Mhm.
they think they're libertarians because they're like, oh, well, we're fighting to save the world from GMOs, from a conspiracy of evil
Right.
GMOs.
And they say, well, in Europe, they're banning GMOs, so
Right.
we should be able to do that. Well,
Right.
Europe is not exactly libertarian.
Exactly. Exactly. And another thing that you'll find too is that, for example, government mandated labeling.
Mhm.
So, or FDA.
Yes, they do want to mandate labeling, which again, is that a libertarian concept to mandate companies to do that?
Yeah, exactly. Charmed one over on Twitch is agreeing with us. Says right on point, Austin. Thank you. Yes. So here's the thing with the with like GMOs or something, for example, or the FDA is a perfect example,
Mhm.
right? Is you'll find these conspiracy theorists will be like, I demand that the FDA inspect all these things and provide information on whether or not something is a GMO food.
Because we deserve to know.
Right. But here's the thing. Guess what the libertarian position is on the FDA?
Ban it.
Abolish the FDA. Yeah, that's the libertarian position on the FDA. So my disappointment in my career and hanging around so many libertarians is that you'll find is that if you scratch a conspiracy theorist, you'll find an authoritarian.
Yes.
And that has to me been disappointing because it's like if there is an evil cabal of people who are trying to poison us and poison our food supply, abolishing the FDA would go a long way towards preventing those evil corporations from being able to, manipulate the government to prevent us from knowing what's in our food. And
Mhm.
and what we found too is that again, a lot of these food companies, they are voluntarily labeling their food whether or not it has GMOs in it. They're doing that because people want to know.
Right, because of capitalism.
Yes.
You tend to make more money if your target market likes what you're doing.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, unfortunately, too, a lot of times when it comes to vaccines or any of these issues, the only scientific research that's being done quite frequently is either done by the government, right?
Mhm.
It's either being done by the CDC or like the FDA.
So people shut that down. Oh, it's government run. Don't believe it.
Right. So or if it's not government run, then the research that's being done is being funded by the government. So the
Ah.
government will go in and like fund a team of research scientists to go out and do that, which,
this is the kind of thing that people like myself are going to call BS on, absolutely,
Right.
because
People are in bed with government.
yeah, perfect example, climate change, right? What's the reason why so many of these universities are going out and doing all this research on climate change and coming to these conclusions that the government wants them to do? Because the government is funding that research to come out and come to that conclusion.
They have incentive.
Right. So unfortunately, it incentivizes conspiracy theories, and people are going to go in there and they're going to believe the stuff because, well, the government is making it very conspiracy looking. So that's it's perfectly reasonable. And this is going to be one of my big points in my debate on Sunday night on InfoWars, is that it's perfectly reasonable for people to look at what happened with the shooting of JFK and think that there was a conspiracy because of all of the shady stuff that happened around it, right?
Sure.
And all of the shady stuff that government does, it makes perfect sense why people assume that there was a conspiracy surrounding it. The Warren Commission, which was like a government, investigation into what went down. The Warren Commission is a perfect example. It came out and said, basically said that it was a conspiracy. But it wasn't. It was Oswald acting alone based on the research that's available and what I've been able to determine. But because of all the shady things the government does, it, makes people question. It's just like with 9/11, right? Like, because of all the shady things that happened leading up to 9/11 and in the days after, and in the commission that was the 9/11 commission report that was done after the fact, people conspiracy theorize and think that 9/11 was an inside job. I mean, despite the evidence to the contrary,
Right.
because the government does so many shady things that it makes people conspiracy theorize. So I totally understand.
And then people say, well, there's some scientists that are trying to do research on vaccines, for example, and then they end up getting killed mysteriously, right? So they use that as an example of this is a conspiracy. They don't want that information to get out there.
Right. Chris Morrill in the live stream says, the vaccine will sterilize me, ? Is that a promise? LOL. All right, we got to go take a commercial break. We've been just blowing up the chat with all this mystery guys. We're gonna I'll switch topics. We'll talk about something else maybe when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1. You can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2. Most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3. You're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell! This commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Glad to have you here this morning. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. All right, let's move on. It's time to move on to another topic. I do want to say, just remember that even if you don't like my opinions on the vaccine, that I have always believed that it should be voluntary.
Right, you have the choice.
Yes, and people who are like, oh, well, some people have accused me of shilling for the vaccine.
Oh,
I've always said it's that you should talk to your doctor about it and, take your doctor's best advice, right? Not me. I'm not a doctor.
Exactly.
Right? And you shouldn't listen to other people if they're not doctors either, right? Not the
That's
doctor.
right. Do your own research.
Do your
You
own
deserve that.
Do your own research. Bring it to your doctor.
Mhm.
And then if your doctor says you're retarded, stop getting this research from anti-vaxxer websites.
And if you don't like your doctor, you can switch your doctor.
You can go find another doctor. Exactly. All right, so stop, Austin. You're going to lose every last single outstand that you have. All right, let's move on to another topic that will unite us all. Unite us. Unite the clans. White replacement theory is a racist conspiracy theory, I've been told, Stephanie.
Okay.
This is my wife, Stephanie Petersen, joining us, by the way.
Hello.
Hi. White replacement theory is this supposed white supremacist conspiracy theory about how the left and minorities are trying to breed out white people. It's, same people, Stephanie, who don't like you because you's a Jew.
Right.
Let's say
Criticism, even when I was in high school, about being Jewish.
about being Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
Stereotypes that I'm rich. I like to look for pennies on the ground.
which one of those at least is true.
Yeah, I do like looking for pennies.
She does. What's funny is she'll pick up a penny and then she'll pass by a nickel, which I just don't understand.
I try to get them all if I can.
Exactly. Anyway, so this white replacement theory, this is like a white supremacist, conspiracy theory that gets attacked. People like Nick Fuentes advance it, and others, people who don't like people like you and people like me who are libertarians, right? That they don't like us. So people go out there and they criticize that. And then you hear professors like this from Rutgers University. Now, please be advised that there is a little bit of strong language in this one. Let's take a listen to what she has to say and react.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? The real sort of issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it, is one, I think that white people viscerally fear. It's not that white people don't know, right, what they have done. They know. They fear that there is no other way to be human but the way in which they are human, which is to, so, you talk to white people and whenever you really want to have a reckoning about it, they say stuff like, it's just human nature. If y'all had all of this power, you would have done the same thing, right? And it's like, no, that's what white humans did. White human beings thought there's a world here and we own it. Prior to them, Black and brown people have been sailing across oceans, interacting with each other for centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism.
Black people have been sailing across oceans and doing that for centuries without colonialism.
I was really trying to fact check that last night, and I was struggling to do so. I was finding some more Black organization websites that were talking about Africans coming before Columbus. And they even quoted Columbus talking about dark-skinned people sailing. So I need to do more research on that, but you did send me an article as well, a scientific article saying that Africans were not here before Columbus.
Yeah, this is a theory that's been advanced in this starting in the 1990s from like afrocentrists like this that it's kind of like the whole we was Kangs meme that like that Black people have had this like, civilization that outpaced white people for thousands of years and all this kind of stuff.
Well, here's the thing. When we first started as humans on this planet, it was in Africa. That is true.
Well, yeah, when we were
millions of years
ago.
After
we crawled out of the primordial ooze here, right? And like the first humans coming out of Africa, and then they colonized the rest of the planet. But I mean, you're talking about like 25,000 years ago here, not
millions.
Well, no, not millions of years would have been the primordial ooze, but the actual humans as we know them, the human race, and the end of like the competitors to the human race was Neanderthals, right? And so you'd have to go back 25,000 years before you could say, we're all Africans. Anyways, let's continue this.
We have seen what a show this iteration of treatment of other human beings means, and that my hope is that we would do it differently, in the moments when we have some power. We will not do it perfectly, but I do think that all of us can sort of agree that a politics that says like there are superior and inferior human beings just isn't the way to go. And that's the thing.
Okay, well, then if that's true, then why is it if a politics that says that are no superior human beings, then why are you bragging about African Americans, not African Americans, Africans sailing around the world and beating Columbus here if, it doesn't matter because we're all equal?
Showing that she's trying to be more superior.
Yeah, for sure. She's trying to advance a view of African superiority while trying to argue at the same time that a politics that advances this idea that we're not all the same.
White people don't trust us to do because they are so corrupt. Their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt.
White people are so corrupt. All of us, talk about painting with a brain. Black people are so corrupt. Jews are so corrupt.
It's a generalization. We need to avoid generalizations when we're talking about race.
Well, listen, we can talk in generalities, but I mean, she's not saying some white people are corrupt. She's not saying even a majority of white people are corrupt.
Right.
She's saying white people are corrupt in totality.
Yeah, we shouldn't say all.
Well, I wasn't even saying earlier when I was talking about vaxxers and anti-vaxxers, mandatory vaxxers, I wasn't saying all of this people, they were all like this or all like that.
Correct.
In order for us to be able to understand each other, we have to speak in generalities. I understand it, but she's speaking in totalities, not generalities.
Right, which is hurting her argument, unfortunately.
About power that they can't they fear viscerally, existentially letting go of power because they cannot imagine that there's another way to be.
Why would anybody ever want to be afraid of giving up power? Boy, that makes no sense.
I mean, I can see her concerns in ways. I guess I see both sides.
But the thing is that like power is the kind of thing nobody is going to want to give up power voluntarily.
They won't.
George Washington is the only person in history who's ever done it. But
right.
I mean, like, why would you act,
Well, just think about this. When you asked a white person before Obama came into office, do you want a black person as a president? How many people would actually say yes?
They would all say yes. They're people.
A lot of people were worried about losing that power as a white person. And I think that's what she's getting at.
Right. Well, Ann Henry in the chat says, I've never understood this. So many people used to generalize the black community, and now many black Americans are doing that very thing. That's true.
They're giving it right back to us, our medicine.
It is either that you dominate or you are dominated. And isn't it sad that is spiritually who they are, and that they can't imagine a sort of more expansive notion of the world? The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these motherfuckers out. But I know, we can't.
That is a scary comment.
Yeah.
What does she mean by that?
We
Does she
got to
mean
take these
genocide?
I mean, that's essentially what it sounds like she's advocating for.
Taking us out?
Yeah.
Aggressively?
Yeah, that's the kind of violent rhetoric that in theory should get you, shut down and canceled and placed on, a list.
Which probably continues the violence in the African communities.
Imagine turning that around and saying that about Jews, right? We got to take you people out.
Hitler said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look what happened to us.
Yeah, she's, this lady is basically advocating.
Can't say that, right? We can't say, like, I don't believe in a project of violence. I truly don't. Because I think in the end that our souls suffer from that. And I do think that some of this is a spiritual condition. So here is where I land most days about white people. And I actually have been helped in this by thinking about indigenous people, right? See, part of the challenge around whiteness is that it totally skews our view of everything, right? I gave this like TED talk about this some years back, and one of the reasons I was trying to think about it is like the world didn't start when white people arrived in America and tried to tell all the rest of
So history began in 1776, and everything before that was a mistake.
I think what's happening here is she's fed up with the oppression that blacks have been through, which they have been oppressed a lot. I mean, just looking at Jim Crow laws, blacks weren't able to vote for a long time until 1870. She's tired of it. And I don't blame her in a lot of ways, but she's taking her anger out and sending the wrong message, I think, that white people are not going to receive very well.
Yeah, we're not receiving it very well, but let's continue because it's fun.
Of us, how things were going to go. There were people out here making worlds, Africans and indigenous people being brilliant, and, libraries and inventions and, vibrant notions of humanity and cross-cultural exchange long before white people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody.
Shit.
I mean, I don't know if indigenous people feel that way about us as well.
It's a tough one. I mean, it depends on the indigenous person, I guess. If you ask them, probably can't paint with a broad brush, because the thing about the indigenous people is that they were all different tribes.
Right.
All the native, they saw themselves as separate. They didn't see themselves as one Indian nation.
Correct.
They were never unified like, the people of the United States are. Right. So it's a mistake, again, to paint with a broad brush and to, say the indigenous people are this way, or the indigenous people were doing that, because they weren't all like that.
And that's really important, because if we believe that history starts for us when white people drag us to these shores, then we can never get outside of the notion that this is going to be our existential struggle. All things that begin end. White folks are not infinite and eternal, right? They ain't gonna go on for infinity and infinity. And that's super important to remember, that white colonialism and imperialism has a beginning. And in my way of thinking about the world, that means it has an end.
Most civilizations have an end.
Correct. So that's technically right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just white imperialism. I mean, white imperialism to a large degree, other than what the United States engages in right now, which is the United States is not a white nation. The United States is a mongrel nation. If you were talking about white imperialism, you're really talking about the British Empire,
right,
which collapsed at the end of World War II. So, what she's talking about here with white imperialism, like she's, Barack Obama was president of the United States. So, that black imperialism?
And so part of what we are trying to do is to imagine what are the steps that we must take to get to the other side of this very inconvenient, epochal interruption of like black and indigenous world making.
I like that word, that phrase, epochal interruption.
I mean,
does that know what that means?
So an epoch is like, an era, right? And so interruption, so to interrupt an era, basically to end an epoch.
Okay.
I give people comfort on the day to day when you like just having to deal with white folks and the travesties that they create and the sense that they want to destroy the planet. Nah.
Imagine if you said, having to deal with black folks. Right. Imagine if that was like, if you said something like that.
That would be very offensive.
Imagine having to deal with black folks on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Saying it about anybody.
Yeah.
There is a world beyond even our sojourn on the earth. And so whiteness is going to have an end date, because it is not despite what white people think of themselves, they do not defy the laws of eternity, right? Their projects are not so sophisticated that the natural laws of physics change for them.
Well, but here's the thing. There's still roads that lead to Rome.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean the longest, the remnants of a civilization that still exist that are being used today, Romans, white people,
Right.
still around, still Roman roads people use. I don't think aqueducts are still around that people use, but
I think she's just very angry and has a lot of pain inside, and that's why she's coming off this way.
Well, the problem is that like that when you're talking about actual Africans and stuff like that, they may have a history, but they don't really have a present.
Mhm.
Right. The only like present that Africans have is here in the United States.
There you go. I think that's what she's talking about.
Be-
She says, let's stop talking about this past here.
Because like for example, if you were to look at like projects in Africa that like, Black Africans are engaging in,
Mhm.
like it's a joke, right?
Mhm.
They don't have science. They don't have, they don't have air forces. They don't have, what we might consider to be a tenet of civilization. They don't have any of that stuff.
And is she saying it's because of the imperialism and the oppression that they've experienced?
Yeah, that's bullshit. Because a lot of these tribes that exist, some of them have been mostly uncontacted. Not all of them were victims of imperialism, but even the ones that were, when the imperialists came in, and this is just an argument here in terms of colonialism, things like that. Like the colonialists that came in were far worse off colonialism was far worse up for them and for the mother country than it was for the country that did it. Because typically, like the way ancient Rome used to do imperialism
Mhm.
was that they would have a vassal state and the vassal state would send tribute back to Rome.
Okay.
But the way that like United States does it and the way that Imperial Britain did it at the time is that those vassal states, that the riches of those states typically would flow in the opposite direction.
Oh.
So for example, like any of the states that the United States is kind of like a vassal, so let's say Afghanistan,
Uh-huh.
we put way more money in Afghanistan than we get back.
Right. What do we get from them?
We get lithium
Mhm.
typically that we use to manufacture our batteries to a large extent. Right. But it doesn't come anywhere near the amount of resources and time and blood and energy that the United States expends into those countries.
So then why do we do it?
It's a great question because on one hand, a lot of it has to do with this, the neoconservative view of remaking the world in our image of like, rebuilding the world. It's a Wilsonian view of the world, which is to make the world safe for democracy.
So there's more motivation behind it in terms of government.
Right. And the Wilsonians believe in this view that that they can remake the world and to make people have self-determination.
Mhm.
But the simple fact is that not every country is able to self-govern.
Right.
They don't have that capacity to do it. And when I say that, I know a lot of libertarians are, going to be pissed off when I hear something like that.
How does a country learn how to govern? How did anybody learn how to govern ever?
That's a great question.
We're capable as humans to think.
Now we're really getting into the heart of it, honestly, because I think, what the question that you're asking there is one, if we could find the answer to that, we solve a lot of the world's problems.
Mhm.
Because a lot of American foreign policy of interventionism has to do with that question that you're asking right there.
We can't trust others and their judgments.
Yeah,
So we try to impose on them.
Right. Charmed 143 says, from an advanced society that arrived here on our planet after the Ice Age while we were cave dwelling like Gollum. So his idea is that civilizations advanced because aliens intervened.
Oh, boy. Well, that's a whole conspiracy theory.
Actually, I kind of believe that to some extent, and I'll explain why.
We're getting deep.
Yeah. Good morning, Zickery. Buy Bitcoin? Question mark. Nice to see you. We've got so many
This is a new person.
Yeah, we love it when we see new names and faces over there. Make sure that you introduce yourself. We love to hear from you.
If you like alternate forms of currency, definitely check out learaustin.com and get a free kit about gold.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that and more when we get back and we say goodbye on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascist? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good
Good morning. Welcome to the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. I'm your host, AP. Joining us on our Family Friday is my beautiful wife, Stephanie Petersen. Good morning, Steffi.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. I'm enjoying myself. I love philosophical discord.
I do. Discourse?
Discourse.
Discord would be...
On Discord.
Discord would be like rancor, it would be like things are not going well. Things are going pretty well, except for most people's stock market portfolios, Steffi, and even Bitcoin for us libertarians not having so hot a year.
I was just saying to you yesterday, I don't believe in my Bitcoin. I really don't.
It's been a really rough year for cryptocurrencies, and it's been a really rough year for stocks. And honestly, we don't know if that's going to continue because
I hope not. I've lost thousands in stocks. It better not be that way.
I hope not too. It's been as I can tell, it doesn't. Calvin, no.
Uh-oh. Our dogs are getting antsy.
Here come the dogs.
They want to be models
It's
on
time,
the show.
Yes, before we do, we've got to talk about why now is a good time to put your retirement savings, at least partially, in gold. It's time for us to talk about my friends over at Lear Capital. Have you signed up for one of our free information packets yet over at Lear Capital? It's easy. Just go to learaustin.com. Here's the thing. The problem is right now with the stock market is that we've got a lot of things going against us.
We really do.
Bonds are down. 2022 had terrible stock market returns. Interest rates are tanking. Real estate values on a lot of markets.
CDs are crappy. You can't get good rates.
CDs are crappy. The contagion from the whole FTX scandal continues to spread. Enron's bankruptcy lawyer was even rattled by the size of this fiasco that's going on with the markets. Now's a good time to start looking into putting at least a part of your portfolio into gold.
I really think so. It's a good idea. And then at least you can feel safe and have peace of mind.
For sure. And so here's the thing. Even if you're just curious about it, my recommendation to you, just get more info from our friends over at learaustin.com. Sign up today for that free informational packet at learaustin.com. learaustin.com. Do that, and that way you can get more information about saving your retirement. Because, goddamn, if we had known what we were going to lose in the stock market,
I'm getting nervous. I really am.
For sure, because it was like $20,000 that you lost last year in the market, something like that.
Yeah, I'm starting to make it up little by little, but I have not broken even yet.
No, here's the thing. If you are looking at the future and saying to yourself, I don't trust the market, you can trust gold and silver. So go to learaustin.com, get more information about transferring a portion of your retirement, at least, into gold and silver so that you can have a little bit more peace of mind.
Because I hear stories about people who are ready to retire and all of a sudden the stock market crashes and they lose half of all of their retirement savings and they're just mortified.
Yeah.
So I know it's okay to be riskier when you're younger with your investments, but it's like if you're in your, 40s, 50s, starting to look towards retirement, soon.
Yeah.
You gotta be safe.
Yeah, for sure. So now is a good time to visit our friends over at learaustin.com. Check it out, and we'll be super grateful. All right. Appreciate that. Let us know if you do that. If you get more information, just type in the chat. Let us know if you signed up for it, because
it really helps.
It does. It helps us. This is our second month of the promotion. And if it continues to go well and we get a lot of signups, then they'll continue to sponsor us.
Right.
And it, as in regards to keeping the show going, this goes a long way to keeping the Wake Up America show on the air. All right.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right.
So you can get equipment.
Yeah.
Cameras that don't shut off.
Yeah, because there's always something technically going wrong, and whenever anything technically goes wrong on the show, it's expensive.
Yes.
I lost a $1,500 camera in the flood a couple weeks ago.
2022.
Yep. But starting next week, we'll be back in the normal studio. So as much as I wish that I could stay here,
I know.
Unfortunately, it's too hard to pull off interviews in my tiny little room here. So anyways, all right. It's been a great week. Stephanie, love you.
It has. Gosh, we didn't get to talk about aliens. I was really looking forward to that.
Okay, so very briefly, my dog just keeps, hold on one second here. Hold on. Aliens. Let's talk about aliens. Here's an alien for you right here.
Hello, my name is Kelvin.
Yes, and there were aliens who live on our planet, and I am one of them.
Sometimes I wonder if he's an alien and he's just spying on us.
Yeah, he could be. What if our dogs are aliens and they are here, that this is like how they get into our planet, is they come down and they pretend to be our pets, and
We seduce you with our memes.
exactly, and
Our
that way,
Frenchie Bulldog memes.
exactly, that way they know what's going on in our households. What do you think about that, Calvin?
Yeah, girls, you like my thick chest?
Mhm.
You like my creamy thighs?
Yes.
Yeah, girl.
Oh, yeah. Well, all right. So here's my theory about aliens, very briefly. So this is a theory called panspermia, and it's PANSP, like sperm,
Uh-huh.
panspermia. And it's a theory that's been posited for a while, that like life on this planet actually came down from like asteroids or meteoroids
Okay.
that had like bacteria in them, and then when they hit the planet, then they like kind of like a bacteria jar, petri dish.
Okay.
They like populated the planet and then evolved here.
So we're bacteria.
Yeah, so we started out as bacteria, but that came from another planet on an asteroid. So it was like frozen in an asteroid. Maybe some planet that had bacteria in it exploded from like, billions of light years away, and then the asteroid hit Earth, tens of millions of years ago.
But then you say, where did the other planet come from? Where did all of that come from?
And that is called what you brought up there is called the theory of abiogenesis. So yes, it doesn't answer that question, but it does lead one to think that possibly that's where life on this planet came from, which would mean that all humans are essentially aliens.
Yes. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Yep. It's time for us to go.
Visit Frenchie BS, guys. Frenchie BS.
Tell them where to go. Give them all of our socials.
Well, it's Frenchie BS on all socials except Twitter is BS Frenchie.
Twitter is BS Frenchie. Okay, and then where can they go when they find out? Follow us on socials for the Wake Up America show.
You can go to wakeupamericashow.com. That's to see my daddy.
Okay.
And you can go to Wake Up America Show. Just type it into Google. Type in Austin Petersen. You're going to find lots of stuff about my daddy.
All right. It's time to say goodbye. You ready to go?
Yep.
Say goodbye.
I'm hungry, girls.
All right, Stephanie, say goodbye. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Bye. It was so fun.
It was. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day. We'll see you guys on Monday. And take care. Say goodbye, Calvin.
Bye, guys. Have a good weekend. Happy 2023.
Yep, we'll see you in the studio, regular studio on Monday. Have a great day. Love you guys.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.